Hello my yarny friends, I'm Sarah Satch and welcome back to my crochet channel. Today's video is just a quick video to answer some questions that I've gotten recently. I've had a lot of brand new crocheters and they've been asking me some questions, and the one I got this last week was, what are the things that can help us be more confident in our crochet journey? So I have a list here of 10 things I'm going to go through. All right, so buckle up. It's going to be a couple minutes. No, it's going to be short, really. All right, so first of all, make sure to keep your tape measure handy all the time. Have one in every bag and everywhere you go, because we all have different tension or the way that we crochet, and so it's good to measure as you go. It will help eliminate some of your frustration. It'll help you know if that hat is too big, or that scarf is too long, or the blanket is too small. So the number one thing on my list is keep your tape measure handy. The number two thing on my list is don't be afraid to use stitch markers. They can be very helpful with making sure your rows have the right amount of stitches. When you're stitching in the round, marking it. And if you're not sure where to put your stitches, when you're learning a new stitch, like say the foundation stitches, it'll help you know where to put that next stitch. So don't be afraid to use stitch markers. I know in knitting we use them all the time, but not so much in crochet. But go ahead, mark whatever you need to mark, and it will help you be a neater crocheter. All right, number 3. When you're beginning a brand new pattern or a brand new video, when you're going to follow that tutorial, I suggest that you read through the whole pattern first or watch the whole video first. And keep in mind that those of us who do videos, sometimes we do make mistakes and sometimes we do say the wrong thing. So with all of my videos, I also have a link down below that will take you to where the written pattern is with pictures. Do yourself a favor and click that link and go and read through that pattern, look at those pictures, and give yourself a good idea of how the pattern is going to work. Because if you don't and you just jump right in, there might be techniques or things you're not used to, and it will frustrate you. And the key to having a great time with crochet is not to get frustrated, right? All right, number 4. Something that a lot of new crocheters don't know, and that is that the patterns are written in both American terms and UK terms, or United Kingdom terms. They're not exactly the same, but you can still work those patterns. Usually you can go to online and Google a chart that will give you UK terms and American terms, so that if you're reading a UK pattern, you can adjust that to American terms. They still come out the same. They're just called different things. They're still the same stitches. They're just done, called different things. And so you can download that chart. You can also go to the Crochet Guild of America. They have a chart as well. And most books that you buy, pattern books, will have a chart in the back. Almost every crochet magazine also will have a chart in the back. So don't be scared away if you're used to American terms. You can still do a UK one. And don't be afraid of American terms if you're used to doing UK terms. Just use that chart and you'll still make a beautiful project and not be frustrated. Now, number 5 is super important because this is going to determine if you are a tight stitcher or a loose stitcher. It has to do with tension and gauge. And when you look at a skein of yarn, you usually have this square right there. And it will tell you to make a 4x4 inch swatch. Okay? 18 stitches. Okay? So you're going to stitch 9 chains, stitch a single crochet in the second chain from the hook and in each across. And that will get you 18 stitches. And then you can measure that to see if that is 4 inches. And then it says 24 rows. So you'll stitch 24 rows and that will tell you if your swatch is 4x4. And by measuring that, you can determine if you're a loose or tight crocheter. In the long run, it really doesn't matter for most projects. If you're a loose crocheter like I am, I know how to adjust that if I want it to be a specific size. Say I'm making a granny square and I want them all to be 8x8, and I get there and they're 9x9. Well, I'm okay with that. I don't really care. But if you want an exact size, you know to tighten up your stitches just a little bit. And that's where the tape measure is important as well. Now, number 6 is important because it has to do with you yourself. You want to take your time, don't be in a rush, and enjoy the process. Because if you're in a rush, it can affect your tension and your gauge. And if you're, like say, really relaxed and you're watching a good movie, your tension might be a little looser. But if you're watching a movie and it's super scary or super intense, you might be crocheting really tight. So keep those things in mind when you're working on your project. And it's okay to watch a movie, listen to music, or take it with you. You just have to make sure that you measure as you go and watch your tension. And remember to enjoy the process, okay? Now, number 7 has to do with getting frustrated. And one of the things that happens sometimes is a brand new crocheter finds this gorgeous pattern and we want to work it, but it's above our skill level and we get frustrated with it. Okay? And that happens sometimes, and it's okay to try it. There's nothing wrong with that. You learn a lot of times by our mistakes, but we become frustrated. So if you're working on this, say, elaborate lace doily and you're completely frustrated, don't stop crocheting. This is what I tell people all the time. Take that project, put it over in the naughty corner, pick up something a little bit simpler, maybe a small bag or a case or even just a necklace, something simple that you can stitch up, relax, and have some fun with it. And when you're feeling a little bit more confident, pick that project back up and try again. Don't give up. Just set it aside and try again later because we don't want to be frustrated. We want to enjoy what we're doing. All right, now number 8 is something we all must do, and that is count your stitches. I've taught several crochet classes where we've just begun with just a simple single crochet washcloth, and we get to going, we're talking and stuff, and before we know it, we've done several rows and we've not counted our stitches. And that's very important because if you don't count your stitches, you might accidentally, lose a stitch at the beginning or the end of a row. And all of a sudden your washcloth looks like a triangle or maybe a trapezoid. So it's really important to count your stitches. And it's also really important, especially in intricate things, because if you're off just by one stitch on one row, the next, sorry, my dog's coughing. Okay. The humidity's bothering my little Maximo over there. Anywho, even if you're just off by one stitch on one row, before you know it, you're off on every row. All right, and then you're like, what in the world did I do? And then what are we doing? We're pulling it out and frog. And frog just ribbit, because we're ripping it out. All right, 2 more to go. Number 9, don't be afraid to ask questions. There are tons of crochet groups that you can ask questions in. And also, when you get a pattern, whether it's free or purchased, you can always ask the designer questions. Because, we do our best. We have testers that test our patterns. We try to have our patterns typed up correctly, but, things happen. And one time I meant to put space SP, and I put SK, skip. And it caused all kind of havoc just in that one line of my pattern. I didn't catch it. My testers didn't catch it. But we sure found out how to fix it because it was really messing up that particular pattern when someone else tried to make it. And so just keep in mind those things happen. And so ask questions. And if you don't understand where to put your hook or your loop or whatever you're working on, just ask questions. Don't be afraid. There's not a thing wrong with asking questions, especially in crochet. Now the last thing that I want to tell you that will help you be a more confident crocheter is practice. Practice simple stitches. I tell people start from the very beginning and practice your chains until you're confident that your chains are even. Then start doing slip stitches. Do chains and slip stitches until you're confident your stitches are even. Then single crochets, double crochets, because really all of the crochet patterns, once you get up into some of the more difficult patterns, they're all just variations off those beginning stitches. They're all, chains, slip stitches, half double crochets, single crochets, double crochets, triples and double triples, and all of those are just we use all of those beginning stitches for all the other stitch patterns. And a lot of times it's just where you're putting that double crochet or half double crochet and stuff like that. And so if you can master those beginning stitches, you won't have any trouble moving on up super quickly. And so the bottom line is, and I say this all the time, practice doesn't make perfect. It makes confidence. Because your projects don't have to be perfect. You just need to be confident in what you're doing. All right, so those are 10 things to help you be a more confident crocheter. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.